My name is Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm on a journey to understand everything there is to know about the human brain. The human brain is the most complex part of our body. Many mysteries remain about how this most vital of vital organs controls every aspect of our lives. But over the last few decades, our knowledge has expanded in leaps and bounds.
That was a shock to the system.
Now we're getting ready to push it to the limits, finding out how our brains react to unusual conditions and surprising challenges.
This is the strangest experience of my life.
Let's do it. I'm setting out on a journey.
Nice to meet you.
A journey to meet some people with remarkable neurological conditions.
One of the most common questions is, how is it wired to your brain?
That give us a unique insight into the inner workings of the brain.
I discovered people who are able to remember almost every day of their life.
In this episode, we'll mess with your mind to show you what memory is.
That is insane.
Imagine if you could remember every single day of your life.
So, the 7th of March, 1984.
That same day, a horse called Dawn Run, a famous Irish horse, won the champion hurdle at Cheltenham.
You have this incredible memory.
I'll be running my own memory experiments and finding out what it takes to become a memory athlete.
I'm the reigning world memory champion. 7-3-1-7-9-7. Okay, I think I'm finished.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
And with the help of magician Pete Heat, I'm going to find out just how easily our memories can be trained or fooled.
Say the whole word in your head, Valentine, is that right? Okay, good.
What's going on deep inside your head? Join me to uncover the secrets of the brain.
Chin chin.
So how good is your memory? Good enough to remember a terrible joke? Good enough to never need a shopping list? Good enough to remember the number pi to 100,000 decimal places? It's at the heart of who we are. Our memory shapes the story of our lives and allows us to interact with the world without every day seeming strange and unfamiliar. And crucially, it helps us to avoid making the same mistakes twice. I'm on my way to meet a man who could give us an extraordinary insight into how we remember our lives. He's one of only a handful of people in the world who've been diagnosed with hyperthymesia, or superior autobiographical memory. Hyperthymesia is a syndrome that allows the sufferer to remember the minute details of their everyday life for years. You may not remember what you were doing on the same day last week, what you ate, what you wore, or who you met. But people with hyperthymesia are able to recall all of these things. And not just for days ago, but for decades ago. It's as if there's a recording device in their brain where every detail has been accurately stored. James McMahon is a 45-year-old sports journalist who lives in Dublin. He can remember more or less every day of his life.
So it's not that you have a highly trained memory, it's just that your memory specifically for things that happen to you.
Yeah, it's this autobiography in the course of my life.
But if, for instance, I were to roll these dice and just sort of use chance to come up with some random dates. So pick a decade.
1980s.
Okay, the 80s, so this would be the last number. It came up before, so 1984. And now we're going to go for the month. March 1984. So, the 7th of March 1984.
It was a cloudy, overcast, dull day in Sligo. The previous Friday was, I remember, hailstones. The budget was on the following Tuesday, the 13th of March, the British budget. And on that same day, a horse called Dawn Run, a famous Irish horse, won the champion hurdle at Cheltenham, which is a big race.
You know, for me, when I go back to the 7th of March 1984, I literally have no idea what I was doing. It was 4 days after my birthday.
5 days.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
No.
I
Appreciate you fixing my math.
Having a search engine for a brain might sound amazing. But while we can be selective when using a web browser like Google, just searching for the interesting facts we need, James's brain is less choosy. Most of us forget the unimportant stuff, but James's brain seems to upload everything that's happened to him to his long-term memory.
And it could be the most mundane event. It could be the most mundane event in my life. I mean, the weather is important because it paints a texture. There's a visual quality there, and I can see whether the sky is blue or whether it's pouring down with rain.
You can actually remember the weather on each and every day.
I don't know what the percentage would be. It would be pretty high.
It seems to be that it could have some uses in life. It could be quite beneficial.
Well, I mean, Google has come in and kind of stolen some of my thunder.
Let's try something from the noughties. The 3rd of July, 2009. Did anything interesting happen?
I went to a friend's house the night before, and we were drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Still drinking?
Yeah, because I was off work that day. And I remember thunder and lightning the 2 days before, on the 1st of July.
But the difference between the rest of us and you is that you can recall specific details, like we can for the big emotional events.
Like, I mean, I'm sure...
for more pedestrian things that happen to you.
I mean, people of a certain generation will remember where they were, what they were doing when John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963.
Yeah.
You will remember things like that.
But you remember being up till 9 in the morning drunk on a specific day.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
James, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks very much, thank you.
We'll join James later as he takes part in a groundbreaking study to find out where his unusual brain is storing all these personal memories and how he's able to recall them so easily.
What we were trying to understand is if there are patterns of connectivity that are different in James compared to the normal population.
Memories for events that have occurred in our lifetime are called episodic memories. But that's just part of the story. The flip side of the coin is semantic memory, or more simply, our knowledge. As adults, we've already acquired much of the knowledge we need to function day to day. But the younger you are, the harder your memory has to work. Students are expected to both learn and then demonstrate their mastery of this knowledge, testing their semantic memory to the max. Hence, the frantic cramming that goes on in the run-up to exams.
Time for magician Pete Heat to see if he can beat them at their own game.
Would either of you two say that you have a particularly good memory?
Relatively good. Yeah. No, quite bad.
So you've all got quite a bad memory, okay. You use little techniques. So if you've got an exam coming up, just read it a few times?
Yeah, read it loads of times.
Yeah, so just sort of rote learning, you just force it in there.
Pretty much, yeah.
We do it over and over again.
Over and over.
Okay, that works, doesn't it? Yeah, it just takes up a lot of time, yeah. The reason why I ask is because I'm always trying to kind of push myself in terms of what my brain can actually do. So as well as the sort of sleight of hand and that kind of thing. And I've tried to pick up on skills like reading people's body language, trying to work out what they're thinking. And one thing specifically that I've been practicing is memory. I've got a little bit of light reading here. You will have heard of Shakespeare, I'm sure. Yeah. Yes, good. I think I've memorised the whole book. Every single play, I think, word for word. I'm going to give this to one of you who wants it. Okay, perfect. But basically, if you just flick through for me and check that there's like thousands, if not millions of words in there, they're all different. Basically, I just want you to check that it is actually a book of Shakespeare plays. Yeah. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'd like you to open the book to a random page and hold it sort of so I can't look over it because I'm quite tall. So open it wherever you want. Okay, do you want to start on the left-hand page or on the right-hand page?
Left-hand.
On the left-hand page, okay. So just look at that first word on the column for me, and then look at me. Just from your eyes, and this is a bit of a guess. I'm going to start quite vague. Okay. Is it something to do with It's like quite a positive word, something to do with maybe love or like I'm picturing something like two hearts coming together, or that's the vague image that I'm getting here. Is that about right? What's the word you're thinking of?
Married.
Married. Okay, so two hearts coming together. That's perfect. Okay, are you thinking of a P?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm imagining like wings moving. Is that right?
Yeah. Raven.
Raven. Oh no, it is a bird. Okay. Yeah. Say the whole word in your head. Valentine. Is that right? Okay, good. Move your eyes down to the bottom of the page. Picture just a letter from near the end of the word somewhere. Okay, yeah? Did you think of two letters there?
Yeah.
It was something like an S, but then you changed it to an E, I think. Is that right? Yeah? Okay. Think of the first letter for me. That's a W, right? Yeah. I think so. It's something quite a violent image. So I'm guessing it's something like weapon or weapons. Is it? Yeah. Okay. All right. And there's the word something like enemies.
Yes.
Enemies.
It's enemies.
It's exactly enemies. Yes. Brilliant. Because I have genuinely tried to memorise this whole book, I think I can get more specific now. Now I know where we are. So if you go to the second column now and go to the top of that column. Heavy lightness.
Yeah.
Serious vanity.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a line break, and it's misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms. Is that right? Next line, I think. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Is that right? Yeah. Brilliant. Yes. Nailed it. Good. And they in France of the still waking sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I that feel no love in this. Is that right? Yeah. Brilliant. Wow, amazing. Have I convinced you? Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
That is insane. How is that possible? Oh, wow.
That's amazing. I reckon you can improve your memory with like techniques and stuff, but to an extent, not like that. That was crazy. I don't understand.
Pete's playing to a captive audience. They're amazed because we don't tend to think of memory as capable of being such a precise tool. But it's not only magic that can make us realise just how remarkable our memories are. Whilst Pete creates the illusion of having an amazing memory, how does it actually work in real life? Let's start with our short-term memory. The briefest of these are visual memories that last only a quarter of a second. Here's a fun way to see your ultra-short-term visual memory in action. I want you to focus on the dot in the middle of the screen as I show you a series of faces. Keep focusing on that dot. Round about now, you'll probably see something very odd. Big eyes with small noses, huge noses with tiny eyes. Weird, almost alien-like. Now let me show you the faces again. I promise I haven't changed them at all. This time, look directly at them. They should look totally normal. So what's going on? You're seeing your iconic short-term memory in action. Each time you see a face, your brain stores it briefly so it can process other information. When the face changes very rapidly in your peripheral vision, the memory of the previous face distorts your perception of the new face. So if the first face had big eyes, your brain will make the next face have big eyes too. And if it should have had small eyes, it will look very odd indeed. The more stable form of short-term memory is known as working memory. This is where our prefrontal and parietal cortex hold information in mind in a readily available state for use right now. For example, you need to remember what I said at the beginning of this sentence in order to make sense of the whole thing by the time I reach the end. This information will quickly disappear unless we decide it's important enough to keep. If it is, it's turned into a long-term memory by a structure deep in the brain called the hippocampus. Those memories are then stored across the brain. Similar memories stick together. So spoken memories settle near the language centers, while visual memories are stored near the visual cortex, and so on.
But no two brains are quite alike, so everybody has a different capacity for memory.
It's time to put your working memory to the test. Take a look at Pete's objects and try to remember them. Got it? Here's a reminder. Did you remember the first object? The last? The middle ones? Notice anything strange? If you did, well done. If you didn't, don't worry. We tend to remember the first and last items in a list best. This is called the serial position effect. So we were able to plant a new object in the middle without some of you noticing.
Whilst James can remember pretty much every day of his life, imagine if you could memorize tens, hundreds, or even thousands of digits in just a few minutes. Impossible? Well, think again. Some people have an extraordinary capacity for mental recall. Memory athletes can rapidly memorize huge lists of numbers, words, and objects that would leave the average person scratching their head in frustration.
My name is Jonas van Essen, and I'm the reigning world memory champion.
Memory is such a fascinating phenomenon that, believe it or not, there really is a world championship in its honour. Jonas scored the highest number of points in the competition's 22-year history. But just a few years ago, he had a memory no better than yours or mine.
I actually got into this quite by chance. I just stumbled upon a book at my local library that said that anyone could get an amazing memory. So I started to read this book, and I tried out the memory techniques that were described in it. And I noticed that I immediately, with these techniques, could remember like hundreds of things, or at least much more than I could before. And of course I was very motivated then to keep on developing this sort of hidden superpower.
Just to double check he's the real deal, we're putting Jonas to the test. We're asking him to look through a deck of cards and memorize the order. Then we'll ask him to put another deck in the same order. Sounds hard, but because he's a memory champ, we're making it even tougher. He'll have to memorize the cards while riding on a roller coaster.
I think in this roller coaster challenge, the most difficult thing will be to hold onto the cards so that I don't drop them.
Fighting talk.
So here I have the deck that I just memorized from the roller coaster. And then I also have another deck here that is just ordered from ace to king in all the colors. Yes, all correct.
What's fascinating is that while Jonas is able to remember the order of all those cards, he's no better at remembering events in his life than you or me. On the other hand, although James is able to remember almost every autobiographical detail, he's no better than anyone else at recalling general knowledge. James is one of just a handful of people in the entire world who was born with an astounding ability to recall his personal memories. Jonas is one of a growing army of memory athletes who, through self-training, have proved that our working memory can be boosted to hold far more for far longer than most of us ever believed possible. People like Jonas are known as super memorizers. London taxi drivers are another famous example. A scientific study of super memorizers showed that when remembering these huge quantities of information, they engage several different parts of the brain associated with spatial memory. While it's easy to understand why remembering a route through a city might use brain areas involved in spatial memory, why would Jonas use it to store memories of something seemingly completely unrelated, like a sequence of cards? I'll be joining him later for a memory masterclass to find out.
How in the world did you do that?
I'm going to set myself a challenge. I'm going to take 4 people with pretty average memories and see if I can significantly improve their recall in just 1 hour. I've selected volunteers with average memories like you or me. There are no Jameses or Jonases here.
This experiment is very simple. You're going to be shown a series of images, 15 in total, and your job is quite simply to memorize them. Let's roll the images.
People's perception of how good their memory is often bears no relation to reality whatsoever.
Glasses, scissors, teapot, gun, apple,
football, sock puppet, telephone, hole punch,
a stapler, plant, and this is where I go vague. God, what else was there?
That's it, I think.
No one remembered the cup, the Rubik's Cube, the spade, or the binoculars. How did you do?
The average capacity of this kind of memory is 7 items plus or minus 2. And the range we had here fits that perfectly, from 6 to 9. Over the next part of the session, we're going to do something a little bit different. You simply take a chocolate, put it on your nose, and without touching it at all, you've got to find a way to eat the chocolate.
I'm not just doing this to make them look silly. Honest. Laughter can actually do wonders for the brain.
So next up, it's really straightforward. We're just going to do exactly the same thing again for phase 2. 15 images. See how many you can remember this time. Most of you improved on that one, and the reason is that we made you feel relaxed. Cortisol, the stress hormone, the levels of that would have gone down. Laughter's well known to suppress cortisol. Conversely, whenever you're feeling happy, usually your dopamine levels have increased. That tells your brain, pay attention to this stuff, it's worth remembering. The next and final stage is simply to construct a story out of the next 15 images that you see in order to help you remember as many as possible. But you must always, as much as possible, make sure that whatever happens in that story is highly emotional. Don't just rely on your visual brain, but if you can introduce what it would smell like, the sounds that would be in that emotional scene, it will make it much more easy to recall.
So my dog Rosie comes in from the garden, it's a fluffy dog, and she does a really bad poo on the kitchen floor, toilet paper.
They bought a skeleton and some flowers.
Which puts on a swimming cap and goggles.
He was drunk he had been drinking wine.
Then she grabs a wooden gun and she said, "I'm going to shoot you, Mummy."
Because they were going to see Peggy, which was the Pegs.
Suddenly, a Tyrannosaurus Rex,
which puts on a helmet,
and was hiding in like a little toy box that you put shapes through.
And gets wrapped up in the gaffer tape.
And they all started playing cards and calculating with a calculator.
And then the last thing I remember is a great big shoe comes down and hits us all and crushes my house.
This time, our test subjects remembered every object between them.
Well done, everyone.
And not only that, their individual results improved by 27% compared with the first test. I set myself the target to see if I could significantly improve people's memory in just 1 hour, and job done. So what are the other ways you can improve your memory? Well, it all boils down to regular exercise. We all know that if we want to make our bodies stronger and faster, we need to regularly exercise our muscles. But the same thing goes for the brain and memory. The more often you try and recall a specific memory, the more likely you are to remember it accurately. And that's because repetition creates a stronger link between the co-activated neurons that actually store it. So what have we learned so far? Well, you may not have James's remarkable episodic recall or Jonas's incredible working memory. But you can instantly improve your recall using simple techniques, like putting a helmet on a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The existence of memory techniques like this can help magicians and illusionists to persuade us that they also have an amazing recall. But we also know that magicians often can't be trusted. So, is Pete a memory master or top trickster?
How good would you say your memory is?
It's okay. Okay-ish.
Do you think you can memorise a whole pack of cards?
Definitely not.
It sounds difficult, and that's because it is. I'll give those to you for a second. Yep. Okay, shuffle them, give them a cut, whatever you want. Happy? Sure. Yeah, okay, sure. Good. And we'll do one more thing. I'm going to shuffle them a little bit more. Can you just say stop somewhere, wherever you want? Just say stop wherever you want. Stop. Put it in your pocket without looking at it. Okay, good. We're going to take one more card, and this time I do want you to look at it. If you just grab one. Take one, because I do want you to look at it, and you can show the camera as well. Okay, perfect. And just drop that back in for me. Okay. So here's the difficult part. Here's where I'm going to try and actually memorise the packs. Okay. Done. You looked at a card, right? You're thinking of one, yeah? If you tell me what that card is, I'll tell you where in the pack it is. What was the card that you looked at?
Six of Diamonds.
The Six of Diamonds, okay. That is the 10th card down. I think it's directly after the Four of Clubs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's the 9th, which I think, like I say, is the Four of Clubs. Yes. And so the next one. Yes.
Oh my God,
okay.
no way.
Okay, good.
Oh my God.
I think the one card I didn't see was the Ace of Hearts. Remember at the beginning, you took a card and you didn't look at it, right? You just took one out and you put it in your pocket, yeah? Could you reach in and have a look?
Oh my God.
You got the Ace of Hearts, but if we really want to do well, we want the other aces as well. So if I cut there, there, and there.
Oh my God, don't.
That is the other 3 aces. That is a killer hand. There you go. You're going to clean up with that.
It's incredible.
The way he reads the deck and just the way he finds the card.
Should be the other 3 aces.
I was trying to kind of figure out how he was doing it. It was all a bit weird.
Yeah, that's your full response.
Yeah, it's impressive. Within, what, 15 seconds, you memorised them all.
Now this may just be magic, but how often are we tricked by our own memories? Even people with extraordinary memories can sometimes make things up without realising it. Your memories can't always be trusted. Take a look at this clip. A car driver's nightmare. But how much do you remember? Do you remember the colour of the car? That's right, it was red. And the colour of his jacket? It was black. But can you pick out the car thief in a lineup? If you can, well done. If you couldn't, even better. In fact, none of these faces featured in that scene. You just created a false memory. Many people will genuinely think they recognise the robber. Most of the time, this kind of false memory is harmless. Unless, of course, you're a witness in a court case. Every time we revisit a memory, we rewrite it. That means that if we recall something and someone introduces a new detail, perhaps something that didn't actually happen, that will overwrite the original memory. From that point on, we'll recall the false detail along with the true ones. To show how Pete takes advantage of this, take a look at this trick. Pete demonstrates with magic how we can create false memories. Pay attention to these two cards. Now Pete will make them disappear in the middle of the deck, then seemingly make them rise to the top again. Let's watch that again. The cards are not the same as before, but the likeness leads us to believe they were. Pete simply organised the deck so the similar cards were positioned at the top underneath the two starting cards. We confabulate, that is, filling in the gaps in our memories continually. And we have no awareness that we're constantly adjusting our memories to fit in with our self-perception and the world around us. But there are a handful of people who don't need to do this, because for them, they can recall almost every detail of their life, clear as a bell. James, who has hyperthymesia, has arrived at Hull University to meet Professor Mazzoni, one of the world's leading specialists in personal memory. He's taking part in a unique trial in the hope of finding out exactly what's going on inside his unusual brain.
I discovered the existence of people who are able to remember almost every day of their life. And we have found actually only 5 people.
What I would be looking forward to seeing is how different, if any way, my brain is different from the ordinary human being out there.
We examined James' brain using functional magnetic resonance imaging, and it provides us a very good picture of the brain and what happens in the brain in response to stem stimulation.
The brains of the people she's studying were stimulated by simply calling out random dates from their lifetime.
For every single date that we asked them, these people were able to report either a full-blown memory or some partial elements of the events that happened that date. For that specific type of memory, they are really exceptional. What we were trying to understand is if there are patterns of connectivity that are different in James compared to the normal population, which areas were becoming active, and the sequence of activation.
For James, it's the moment of truth, as he's about to get the results of his scans, and the first ever insight into the workings of his brain.
In general, your memory is just within the norm, but you have this spike, incredible memory for your personal events. As you can see, the main active area is an area which is in your visual fields. It is interesting to see that there is relatively little activation in the temporal areas, not that much. So it is as if really the visual component is the predominant component, is the winner. There is also some connection to some areas in the frontal lobe linked with the sense of this is my own memory. Basically an activation at the same time of the visual part, and then this element that says, okay, these visual parts are mine. Usually people get these posterior areas active much, much later in time. You and also these other people get this activation much earlier in time.
James's highly active visual brain explains why whenever he calls up a memory, it tends to start with a strong visual recollection.
The 3rd of July, 2009.
I remember thunder and lightning 2 days before.
For them, their ability to access information is really incredible. James takes approximately 1.5 seconds on average to access his memories, which is quite amazing if you consider that, for example, in the normal population, accessing autobiographical memories takes approximately 12 seconds.
We retrieve personal memories in two ways. For events that have occurred in our more distant past, we reconstruct the memory, which can be an unreliable and time-consuming process.
If I ask you, what did you do during your vacation in 1995? If you were me, I would say, 1995, what was I doing? Work-wise, vacation-wise, where did I decide to go?
For me, it's like if you mention a date, I can tell you where I went on holidays in 90, but then I can fill in the little bits and pieces that I did. Like, I know that I went over to London in 1995. I can remember getting on the plane that morning.
We call personal memories that are accessed more quickly as direct memories. For me, the interesting aspect in studying, people like you, is that this direct access to personal memories can function beautifully and can function on an everyday basis and can function as the default retrieval mode.
For James, events from years ago are recalled as quickly and easily as something that happened yesterday. The scans prove that James's brain really is unique.
What it seems that happens to you is that basically, for your personal events, all your memories are accessed directly. Does your brain work differently? Certainly, these differences are significant.
It's fun to remember things that you did in your life or things that other people did in their lives, people that are close to you that were important as well. But all too often, you tend to also remember, some of the sadder times as well.
The insights gained from James's brain scans may even help people with memory defects in the future.
People who have milder forms of memory impairment before it leads into real dementia. People with difficulties in remembering because they have some forms of amnesia. People with epilepsy, temporal lobe epilepsy. We might find a way to implement different strategies and different ways of remembering.
So there's no hope for me to train my brain to recall episodic memories like James. His brain is hardwired in a way that's impossible to emulate through sheer willpower and hard work. But that's not to say my hopes of improving my memory are dashed forever.
If Jonas von Essen managed to transform his memory from average to incredible in just a few years, is this something we could all achieve? I want to see for myself how the reigning world memory champion does it. I'm setting Jonas a challenge that to me seems impossible. And I'm hoping he might reveal the secrets of his success along the way.
Jonas!
Jack.
How are you?
Fine.
It's an honor to meet you, the reigning world memory champion. Brilliant. Well, I've set up a little challenge for you. Yeah. So on every door around this circular redoubt, we have 12 numbers. So that's 264 numbers. And I'd like to see how well you do. How long typically would it take for you to memorize that many numbers?
Well, if I was sitting in a competition and had them all on the paper, then I can really get into a flow like this. The most extreme quickness would maybe be 3 minutes or something like this. So here, of course, it's a little bit different because I have to walk or run from door to door. So it will take much longer to really get it secure.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of hard work. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in action.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to try. And if you also think that you have a quite good memory, then maybe you'll like to join me as well.
Is that a challenge?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Pick a door, any door.
Yeah, let's go to the light, perhaps.
May the best man win.
Okay, I think I'm finished.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I'm only on my third door. Okay, to the middle, let's compare notes.
Yeah.
I know you're a world memory champion and everything, but I feel slightly ashamed that you lapped me 3 times. So, shall I give you mine?
Yeah.
Or will that confuse you?
No, it's okay. Now, like once they are stored stored for maybe at least a day or so.
Really?
Yeah.
So you could sleep on it, wake up tomorrow, and then still know them?
Yeah, usually, yes.
I like the fact that you don't need a clipboard with the numbers on it like I will, just to confirm whether or not I got this right. You can do it from your memory.
Yeah.
So, I remember 304 100 508 970 978. No. Back up. I was turning the number upside down. 670 678 639 938.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So are you still feeling confident?
Yeah. Okay, and where do you want me to start?
Can you start anywhere I want?
Yeah, sure.
So the first line is 631 545.
Okay. So I'll start there. 631545. 31 and then 38.
Yeah.
So in Swedish it's very clear, but okay. So,
very good.
38. And then we've got
7317215357575857575857965985961. Every single one. How in the world did you do that?
Yeah, well, it's actually a lot more easy than it seems.
I managed to memorize 36 numbers, straining every neuron in my brain, whereas you got 264 in exactly that same period of time.
Well, it's really all about knowing certain memory techniques and then applying them.
Tell me about it. So if I want to be a memory champion, what can I do?
Yeah, well, actually, it's quite simple. You just have to learn some memory techniques. And all of the best techniques are based upon 2 major ideas. And the first idea is that you can remember things better by converting them into something more memorable.
Okay, so for example, a load of numbers up here. What kind of images do you use for those numbers?
Yeah, well, for me, I have a system where I've changed every 2-digit number into an image.
Okay, so what's 00?
00, that's like a big snowball.
Ah, and what about 19?
That's an egg.
An egg?
Yeah.
What about 36?
That's like a CD, a compact disc. So then I usually combine 3 of these pairs together. So then I see this big snowball. And then on top of it lies an egg. And then there comes like a big rotating CD, just cutting through the egg and the snowball. The more interesting this image is and the more that happens in it, of course, the better you remember it.
So, now you've heard how Jonas does it, could you be better at remembering numbers? Give each number from 1 to 10 a visual image. And now try this test. I'm going to read a list of numbers and I'd like you to remember them. 9 5 4 3 1 0 2 and 1. Got that? What was the sequence I read out then? The correct one was this. Don't panic if you didn't quite get it. It's not easy to make up a unique image for each digit on the fly. And anyway, this is a simpler version of the tests that are used in the World Memory Championships. So, what are the other methods that Jonas uses to remember objects or numbers?
The second principle is that you sort of associate the things that you want to remember to different places so that you order them in your mind. It doesn't sound as if it's going to help so much, but actually you can use this to memorize thousands of objects placed on a big route. For example, I usually use amusement parks to get many different spots to place my images on.
But it's important that the place, the memory palace where you spread the objects to be remembered, is actually a place you know very well in real life.
Yes, or at least you have to be able to see yourself walking through it.
Cool.
This concept of putting objects in places inside a familiar location in your imagination is called the memory palace technique. If you think of an elephant on your bed or a penguin in the bath, it's likely to stay with you. Supermemorizers' use of this technique, creating journeys through space in their mind's eye, explains why they use brain areas specialized for spatial memory to store objects and numbers. So, were you paying attention during the show? How good is your memory? Here's a final memory test for you. Earlier in the show, Pete made the same card disappear 3 times. Can you remember which one? Don't worry if you didn't get it. Not all of us can have James's remarkable brain.
James.
Hi, Jack.
How you doing? You well?
Good now, good. The previous Friday, I remember hailstones.
Seeing how and why his memory is wired differently.
But you have this spike, incredible memory.
Has given us a unique insight into how our own brains lay down memories. And not all of us will have the phenomenal recall that Jonas has.
Yes, all correct.
But learn how to train up your working memory and you too could be a world-famous memory athlete.
7, 5.
Last question. Can you remember how to tell when Pete is feeding you a false memory?
Okay.
The answer is, you can't. So watch out.
That is insane.
Minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, we're overloaded by events to store in memory. But what James and Jonas and their extraordinary brains tell us is that by understanding the way we recall our lives and memories of the world around us, we're one step closer to unlocking the secrets of the brain. My name is Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm on a journey to understand everything there is to know about the human brain.
The human brain is the most complex part of our body. Many mysteries remain about how this most vital of vital organs controls every aspect of our lives. But over the last few decades, our knowledge has expanded in leaps and bounds.
That was a shock to the system.
Now we're getting ready to push it to the limits, finding out how our brains react to unusual conditions and surprising challenges.
This is the strangest experience of my life.
Let's do it.
I'm setting out on a journey. A journey to meet some people with remarkable neurological conditions.
One of the most common questions is, how is it wired to your brain?
That give us a unique insight into the inner workings of the brain.
I discovered people who are able to remember almost every day of their life.
In this episode, we'll find out that there's much more to a face than meets the eye. I want to understand the relationship between our brains and faces. Imagine not being able to spot a loved one in a crowd. Or meet a man who can't recognize even his own family. A
crushing thing is the confidence.
We'll follow him as he searches for a cure. I'll join forces with a police super recognizer as we track down suspects in a crowd.
Alison, you're nicked.
And along the way, I'll be running my own experiments.
I want you to tell me if either of those suspects you saw earlier are there in the lineup.
And with the help of magician Pete Heat, we'll find out that when it comes to remembering a face,
I'm going to give you the power to know what their names are without even looking at them.
our brains can be very easily fooled.
It's time to face up to your brain. The face, vital in so many ways for such an intensely social creature as us, enabling recognition in the blink of an eye, but also providing invaluable cues as to the person's internal state, and therefore how best to communicate with them.
With a remarkable number of muscles in our faces, we can express an almost endless diversity of emotions and feelings. And what's astounding is that we can tell people apart, despite the fact that all faces are made up of the same basic parts.
The fact that we can use these quite few features, a couple of eyes, a nose and a mouth, general shape, and yet differentiate all the people we know is quite remarkable.
And that's all thanks to the brain. It's evolved to spot these subtle but vital differences, unique combinations of muscle structure, facial features and skin tone, which allows for super streamlined facial recognition. But do we take this remarkable ability for granted? Well, with a little help from magician Pete, that's a good place to start. With a wake-up call to remind us of the magic of facial recognition. Often, we just don't realise how good we really are.
Would you say you're good with faces? Like, say, if you bump into someone in the street that you might have met a few years ago.
Not particularly, no.
No? So you might not even know who they are and you just have to nod along and kind of go, yeah, how's that thing that you do? Yeah. What about you? Same or?
I'm pretty terrible.
You're pretty terrible? Oh, good, because I'm exactly the same. I'm really bad. If you bumped into someone on the street that you maybe met at a party 5 years ago, and they started talking to you, do you think you'd know who they were, or do you think?
Face-wise, maybe.
Yeah.
Names, definitely not.
But I'm going to show you something to do with that, to do with what I'm talking about. I've got a stack of photographs here, all different people. Okay, so it's about 30, 40 pictures. Half of them are men, half of them are women. And on the backs of these as well, we've got all different, we've got their names. So we've got Michael from London or Matt from Birmingham. Even though you don't know these people, right, I'm going to kind of give you, this is going to sound weird, I'm going to give you the power to know what their names are without even looking at them. Right? Okay, so sounds implausible, right? But we're going to give it a go. So, like, for example, one of the women in here is called Anne. Even though you don't know, hopefully you're going to tell me which one that is. So just use your intuition. So I'm going to spread through, and you're just going to stop me on one of the women, whichever one you think is called Anne. Go with your gut, right? So I'm going to spread through, okay? And again, even if you want me to change direction and go back, if you feel like I went too quickly or whatever, just say.
Stop. Yeah.
There? Yeah. And you both agree? You both think that's a there. Okay, you sure? Yeah. Okay. In fact, don't turn it over yet, but just take that off me so I can't cheat and do anything with it. Okay, so for example, if we'd have gone one woman further, if we'd have gone to this woman, that would have been Yvonne from Edinburgh, right? Okay, so if you hadn't have stopped me there. If we'd have stopped me even further still, it would have been this woman, maybe Philippa from Brighton, or you decided this woman was called Anne.
Yeah.
Turn it over.
No.
The only Anne in the whole stack, and you found her. Okay. Listen, so you're doing well, right? Okay, I'm going to try one with you. Okay. One of the men in here, actually a similar name, one of the men is called Andrew. Okay. And again, only one in the whole stack is called Andrew. Okay. So I'm going to spread through there again, and again, it can be one near the top, near the bottom, near the middle. Just stop me somewhere, wherever you want.
Stop.
Right there, you think this guy is Andrew, okay? And you could obviously you could have stopped me any way you wanted.
Yeah.
You don't want to change your mind? No? I'm not trying to make you. I'm just saying you can if you want. No.
No.
Okay. Right. Up to you. Up to you. Right. Are we happy? So you think that's don't turn it over yet, but take it off me. And again, just like before. So say this guy is Matt. Right, if you'd have stopped me there, or this next guy. Hold on. This guy is Tim from Coventry. Right.
Yeah.
Again, they genuinely are all different names. Gareth, whatever. Simon. There is only one Andrew in the whole pile. Turn it over.
What?
That's Andrew from York. Turn it over.
Oh, look at it. Brummy Claire.
So that's a bit weird, right?
That is weird.
Okay, but with each of those, maybe that's just luck, because you've only got maybe 10, 15 of each sex to choose from, so maybe it's just luck that you happen to choose the right one, or maybe they look a bit like their name for whatever reason. So let's try and take that a step further. This guy on top, let's use him. He could have, obviously, any name in the world, right? There are thousands of different names that he could have, right? And he could be from any... he's from Britain, I'm going to tell you that, but he could be from any city or town in the whole of Britain. I'm going to try this with you, actually, if I can.
Okay.
So firstly, I want you to just think of any... don't say it, just think of any first name that he could have. And think of any city or town in the whole of Britain, so don't tell me again, okay?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
So you're thinking of a name?
Yeah.
And you're thinking of either a town or a city somewhere in Britain? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell me yet, but just hold on to that so I can't do
Okay.
anything, I can't cheat, I can't change anything. For the first time, can you name out loud the name that you think this guy, that you decided his name was?
Clive.
You decided he was called Clive?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, all right, okay. Clive, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Exactly.
It's a crying shame. And where is Clive from?
Eastbourne.
Okay, Clive's from Eastbourne, of course he is. You could have said any name, you could have said any place in it.
Oh,
Let's have a look. Turn it over.
What the heck? That's weird.
Show the camera.
How did you do that? That's weird. Clive from Eastbourne.
To see that for the first time was really strange for me. Really strange. I think it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I don't know how the hell he got that. That is amazing. That is amazing.
Now, this may just be a trick, but behind it is a bigger truth. We're amazing at processing faces. In the last 3 minutes, you've registered a number of faces, making unconscious decisions about their age, personality, and background. For us neuroscientists, unraveling how and why this happens gives us a remarkable insight into how we interact with each other. But what would happen if this process went wrong? How would you cope if you couldn't recognize any faces at all?
There are 3 vital phases to identifying whether or not we know a face. Number 1, you look at the object and all of its various features and recognize that it's a face in the first place. Secondly, automatically at a subconscious level, your brain will look up that face in regard to all the other faces you've come across to tell you whether it's familiar. And thirdly, you pull up all of the relevant information relating to that face in order to know their name, what your past interactions with them have been, and so on. If any one of these 3 processes breaks down, it can be absolutely catastrophic to our experience of everyday normal life.
1 year ago, architect David Scott suffered a stroke, which rendered him face blind, a condition that's also known as prosopagnosia.
Prosopagnosia, the impact is massive, and for something which is not visible for a sufferer, the impact it has upon your life is just, at times, it's horrendous.
He can see perfectly well, but is unable to recognize the faces of anyone he knows, including his closest family and friends.
I mean, it just changes your whole relationship with the whole world and people. Anything which might give an improvement, no matter how small or even how brief, temporary, has to be explored.
David has come to meet me as he embarks on a journey to try and find a cure for his condition. But before we can begin, he sets himself the challenge of finding me in the crowd, using his own somewhat unconventional methods.
Actually, it could be, yeah. I think it is. Excuse me, are you Jack?
I am. Hello.
I'm David.
How did you do that?
The eyebrow. Your right eyebrow.
So what is it about what is it about these eyebrows
there?
specifically?
See there?
Oh, that little bit sticking out.
Yeah, the bit there, and also there's it, but I don't know whether that is just.
No, that's a rugby injury. That's
yeah. So
my
that,
eyebrow got
and
split.
then the other thing I will sometimes will do is I will look at the shape of how bowed the lip is.
Because usually it would be the alignment of the eyes with the nose. Instantly, that's a face.
Yeah.
Do you still have that ability to recognise this as a face?
Yeah, I know that's a face.
Okay, but it's the actual identity.
It's
of
the
this
bits that
face.
put it together. Yeah. So basically, I can look at that now and go, yeah, like fine. But what I don't, if say I don't see is the wrong word to use, I can't. They don't all live together in my mind as one image.
Okay.
So for instance, so you're now easy. It's easy for me to look at you and go that little bit over the eyebrow.
As a test, I've put together a newspaper filled with faces which should be familiar to David. Let's see how he fares. Can you identify this person or any of these guys?
I don't know. I've got no idea. That there,
You glanced at a picture of your own face.
Oh, I passed myself the whole time, yeah.
David has also failed to notice his wife on the front page.
I would struggle to pick her out in a crowd.
Your own wife, you'd struggle to pick her out in a crowd?
If I didn't know what she was wearing. If I'd seen her in the morning go out wearing, I don't know, a light-coloured coat and something like that, and then I would focus, the first thing I'd look for is the clothing.
Right. Clothing first, rather than the face you've looked at every day, more or less.
Yeah.
How many years have you been married?
22.
22 years. And such a familiar face.
Oh, no, yeah, I mean, we've, on the times I go to the supermarket, I've lost her in Waitrose.
Really?
And the only way I can find her is by looking for the clothing.
Looking for the
And the
clothing.
body shape.
Right.
So the face is useless.
Later on, we'll rejoin David as he attempts a pioneering new technique to try and cure his face blindness. So even the people closest to David appear alien to him. But for the rest of us, how strong is our impulse to see faces? Well, have a look at this. A simple white mask. We have eyes, nose, and mouth. It looks like a face, but when it starts to turn, something unusual happens. As the mask rotates, there should be a wrong side and a right side, but there isn't. We get the two sides of the face mixed up. This is called the hollow face illusion. Our bias of spotting faces is so strong that even when we know we're looking at the inside of the mask, our brains ignore the cues, such as shading or shadows, that would suggest something's awry. So what's going on? Let's start from the beginning. How do we recognize faces? Well, the simple answer is our brains are made to find faces in any environment. It's an inbuilt primal part of our neural wiring diagram. But given that infants have so much trouble recognizing even the most basic of patterns, how in the world do they zero in on something as complex as a face? We've set up our own baby lab to find out. Wish me luck. No one has worse manners than babies. They just won't stop staring. Fresh out of the womb, we humans love faces. We just find them absolutely mesmerizing. An infant just minutes old will instinctively turn towards a face. We have a deeply ingrained preference for them. But surely for a toddler, there's nothing more tantalizing than a toy. So in this simple experiment, we're going to show our babies a series of pictures of faces to see if they find those more interesting than anything else.
This is Nancy and she is 10 months.
This is Alice and she's 6 months old.
This is Rudy and he's 9 months old.
This is Lyra and she's nearly 12 months old.
We're presenting our troupe of tots with two simultaneous photos. One of them a human face and the other a toy. Which of these images will entice our infants the most? The results are unanimous. All of our panel, including those who can't yet walk, are intuitively drawn to the faces. The reason for this is a simple case of human evolution. We've adapted to lock onto faces to aid us in seeking out safety, specifically to secure the support and protection provided by the familiar faces of our regular carers. But how can a baby distinguish between a face and something very similar to a face? The fact is that from birth they can't. And that's where our next test comes in. In this experiment, we're going to see if our babies choose to look more at the face-like images than all the others. We're starting with the youngest of our panel. And it's immediately apparent that they're just as intrigued by face-like objects as actual faces. As we move through the age range of our babies, we begin to notice a change in the level of interest. The older the infants are, the less fixated they seem to be with the face-like images. This is because, from birth, we're what science describes as broadly tuned to faces. Babies simply don't make the fine discriminations that we're accustomed to as adults. So if it's a bit like a face, that is quite sufficient to draw a baby's eye. So whilst we're programmed to understand the general blueprint for the features that make a face, it takes time to fine-tune the recognition process for specific faces. Although we may lose our fixation with them, our innate ability to see faces in ordinary objects doesn't just stop when you grow up. Take a look at these images. Do you see faces? If you do, then you're experiencing something called pareidolia. Anyone who's ever looked up at the clouds and spotted two eyes, a nose and a mouth has felt the pull of pareidolia.
There is a system within the brain that recognizes faces, and it zeroes in on a particular configuration where it sees two eyes, a nose and a mouth in a particular shape. And that's why face recognition is so remarkable, but sometimes that system can overwork and start seeing faces in clouds, in biscuits, etc.
Our brains are highly tuned to see faces. So when that process is interrupted and every face becomes a blank canvas, the world becomes full of strangers. David Scott is on a journey to try and find out why his brain works so differently from everyone else. He's arranged to meet Dr. Ashok Jansari, and for the very first time, he's about to find out which part of his brain was affected by his stroke, and how badly. He's never felt ready to look at his brain scans, until now.
This is us going down into your brain, and one thing is that what's on the left-hand side of the screen is actually your right half of your brain, and what's on the right-hand side is the left half of your brain. It's mirrored, yeah. The dark bits here mean that that part of the brain is okay. The lighter grey part here is the parts that were damaged when you had your stroke. And what we see in your brain is that there's more damage on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side.
The damage to David's brain includes an area known as the fusiform face area, within a part of the brain called the fusiform gyrus.
And that is indicative of the prosopagnosia, because that's the part of the brain that's effectively face recognition central.
Professor Jansari believes disruption within a specific part of the brain could be causing David all this trouble. Face recognition is a complex process, involving a variety of structures within the brain, including the fusiform face area. When we look at a face, the visual information is converted into electrical nerve signals in the back of the eyeball. These signals are sent via the thalamus to various brain structures for processing, including the occipital lobes at the back of the brain and the fusiform face area on the underside, shown here as the yellow areas inside the fusiform gyrus. The occipital lobes process visual information. They actively create the picture that you see. But but don't interpret the detail of what the picture is. The fusiform face area, seen here in yellow, works as a dedicated facial recognition system. It filters and recognizes complex facial patterns. And in cases of prosopagnosia, the fusiform face area may be malfunctioning.
Okay, so David, how do you feel now that you've seen your brain scans and seen the areas of damage?
I don't know, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
I can't relate to my brain.
Have you got any more questions for me?
I don't think so, no. That's been most interesting, thank you.
Well, look, I'm glad it's been a few. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
Really
you,
nice
thank you for your
meeting
time.
Okay, goodbye.
David is one step closer to understanding why his brain now works so differently from the rest of us. And later, we'll follow him to see if there's any way to find a cure.
On the left, I think.
And who do you think that might be?
I think it might be one of my daughters.
So for me, the most interesting thing about David's case is that it shows us that this special area of the brain, the FFA, fusiform face area, has evolved over millions of years to enable us all to instantaneously know whether or not a face is familiar. Now, David, of course, can see other objects absolutely fine. It's the very specific ability to identify faces that's been disrupted in his brain. And this is, of course, extremely important for us humans because we need to know whether that face is familiar or not in order to know whether it's friend or foe, to know whether we know that person vaguely or very, very well. We're such a social species that if you get that wrong, it can have huge social penalties. It could even endanger your life. So next time you glance at someone and your face immediately lights up with recognition, bear in mind it's all thanks to this important but tiny part of your brain.
We may have an innate ability to recognize faces, but as you're about to see, only if we pay proper attention. You'd think that being almost 2 meters tall, with a unique taste in clothes, Pete would be pretty easy to remember. Well, think again.
Sorry, do you live around here?
Yeah.
Do you know where Nile Street is? I think it's in the South Lanes.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I do actually. So.
In fact, sorry, yeah. Where are we? Is this us here or are we there?
We're about. So we're just along here, basically.
Okay.
Hey guys,
oh, watch out!
Watch your backs.
Sorry. So we're
yeah. So
here,
we're just here, and then you want to go basically along here.
Which is that way?
Yep. Okay. Go up, and then it's just on there, and then around the corner.
Okay, brilliant.
I'm looking for Nile Street, which is in the South Lanes, apparently. Yeah, is that like? Are we? Where are we? Sorry, mate. Okay.
Sorry.
So that way.
Nile Street. Just right.
Yeah.
So is it up? Is it the South Lanes are down there? Is that right? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, coming through.
Oh, watch out.
Sorry.
Okay. So this way?
Yeah, it's that way, and then you just basically turn right.
Right.
So down there, right, and then up.
Sorry, right. So, all right. So we're.
There's a common misconception. You may think that you're aware of everything coming into your brain from your eyes from moment to moment.
Perfect. All right. Oh, cheers, mate. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
The truth is that the brain can't keep up with the total amount of information coming in from your eyes. Your experience from moment to moment is drastically filtered, summarized, and then finally prioritized to make it more manageable. And this means that when it comes to faces, we only remember those people who we think may be significant. So what have we found out so far? Well, although our brains are hardwired to see faces, we're highly selective about the faces we choose to remember. And when this part of the brain's highly sophisticated machinery goes wrong, it can make the world a very confusing place. So are we really reliable as eyewitnesses to a crime? What are the features that stick in our brains? What do we remember about a face? To find out, I've pulled together my very own group of witnesses to see a police lineup.
Okay, everyone, I have a very straightforward task for you. What facial features are you most easily recognized by? I'm going to show you 2 faces of a pair of suspects. I want you to commit them to memory. Now, you're only going to see them for a few seconds, so make sure you're paying attention.
The images shown to our amateur sleuths show suspects' faces with their peripheral features removed.
Okay, so hopefully you've got those fixed in your memory. We're now going to show you a lineup of 5 suspects. They're all going to come out one by one. And I want you to tell me if either of those suspects you saw earlier are there in the lineup. So if one of these individuals is someone you saw earlier out of those 2 faces, which one does your inkling point you towards?
The first one starting from the right.
Mm-hmm. He was shown, he was there in the scene of the crime.
And it was the one on the left.
Okay. How about you, Mike? Who do you think it was?
Exactly the same as what Bego said. Guy on the right, and he appeared left image.
Okay, that's great. You've all done fantastically. Clearly, your facial recognition is brilliant.
So even with key features removed, like hairlines and ears, the witnesses are still good at recognizing faces. Our ability to do this is a classic example of unconscious cognition. We don't have to think about it. Facial familiarity just happens.
So next up, we've got 2 more suspects. I'm going to get you to study their faces again, just for a few seconds. So there's one dodgy-looking bloke, and here's the other. Okay. Did any of you notice anything unusual about them?
They didn't have eyebrows.
Did that in any way affect your confidence in being able to figure out who these suspects are? It did. So track, either of those 2 faces you saw earlier, can you see them here in this police lineup?
The one that was on the right had a very distinctive nose.
Yeah.
And I can't see that nose.
Okay.
But it could have been the camera angle. But the lack of eyebrows was very confusing.
Okay.
If I was a police lineup, I'd have to say that none of those matched the 2 pictures I saw. So I'd say they're not in there.
How about you, Bego? Do you have any guesses?
I would go for the guy on the far left.
Correct. 3 of the 4 of you have spotted that one of these people is indeed one of the eyebrowless individuals from earlier. But what about the other one? Is that person in the room right now? Yeah, you guys are kind of maybe looking in the wrong direction. I was sure you were going to get this. It's actually me. You didn't recognize this was me?
No.
Not even a subtle hint of recognition?
And I can still, now that I know, I can't even see it either.
Even now, I'm stood next to it.
Yeah.
The eyebrows are a very humanising feature, and that kind of image to me looks very, you know, not alien. I guess not to disrespect people without eyebrows, but it's very, very hard to associate that as a person.
Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's your eyes, your nose, and your mouth, the classic facial features. But in actual fact, the eyebrows are incredibly important. The T-shape formed by your nose and your eyebrows is the principal way that we assemble a face in our mind's eye, and specifically one face in particular. So without the eyebrows, your face is virtually unrecognizable.
Now it's your chance to be the eyewitness. Just tell me which of these faces is smiling and which one is angry. Easy, right? Well, look again. They're known as Dr. Angry and Mr. Calm. But what happens when you change your perspective by backing away from Pete? You should see that Dr. Angry and Mr. Calm swap places. But as we move closer again, they'll swap back. This is a pretty cool illusion. But what's going on? Normally, when we look at something, we process it according to its position. Close up, we can see the fine details, while further away, we see the bigger picture, or the coarser information. Each of the faces in the pictures is a mashup of 2 images. On the left, the angry face is just represented by coarse detail, so we see it only from a distance. But a calm face is made up of fine detail, which we can only see close up. The right-hand face has been created the other way round. So let's face it, both you and my lineup of eyewitnesses have been pretty unreliable at spotting a face. Now, Imagine if you had the ability to remember every single detail of someone's face and what they were wearing. If you're especially good, you might be what's known as a super recognizer. Less than 1% of the population have this extraordinary innate ability. So it's time to meet the king of the lineup, the master of spotting a face, the ultimate eyewitness. Police Constable Gary Collins of East London's Hackney Gangs Unit is the Metropolitan Police's most prolific eyewitness. He's identified over 800 suspects in the last 10 years. He's part of a new breed of super recognizer cops.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Their prime objective is to spot known offenders from both CCTV footage and live situations. Gary's incredible skills give us a unique insight into the potential abilities of our own brains.
So can you share with us any of your greatest successes, obviously without breaking any confidentiality?
Because of the type of work I do, a lot of the stuff is serious offences like murder, attempted murders, stabbings, knife crime, gun crime, and where the victims in these incidents won't report to police, we only have the CCTV to go on.
What kind of materials do you work with? You mentioned CCTV. Presumably there's a sort of wide variety of raw materials you need to search through.
Obviously we use a lot of social media, mobile phones. Obviously everyone's got mobile phones these days, and the quality, the cameras on them is a high quality. We do a lot of gang stuff, a lot of videos on YouTube. A lot of people are masked up in them videos, got their faces covered, just their eyes showing.
A still from a piece of CCTV footage is, if the news is anything to go by, invariably pretty grainy, pretty poor quality resolution. Yet you can still identify people on the basis of that.
It's very hard for me to explain how I do it, but I can look at the image, look at the grainy CCTV, what I've got, and say, yeah, well, that is that person.
Presumably, to help you recognise a face, it's best to have it face on, or is that not always the case?
It is, obviously, the clearer the image, if it is face on, it's better. And I've been sent images before, a still image, and I've looked at it and I said, no, I don't recognise the person. He looks familiar. I can't put a name to him. I've been asked to see the moving footage, so I believe the moving footage is always a lot clearer. It could be a split second where they turn their head one way, which might assist me in identifying them. So the moving footage is always a lot clearer to me.
I guess that's interesting, because if you think about it, the evolution of the human brain, up until a couple of hundred years ago, there were no still pictures of anyone. Everyone was always in motion. You know, if you're moving around your community, whether or not you can recognise a face, it's always on the basis of dynamic information, so that makes sense.
It does. I mean, and you see, in moving footage, you can see the way the person walks. I mean, I've identified people from the back of them just by the way they walk or the way they hold themselves.
At face value, Gary seems to know his stuff, but I've devised a challenge that will test him to the limit. I'm showing him mugshots of 10 potential suspects, 3 of whom we've planted in the busy square outside.
Feeling confident?
I am, yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10?
9.
He could just be putting on a brave face. I want to see if he can spot these suspects from 100 metres away without referring back to the original photos.
So go on, run me through. What's the first thing you would do in order to take in all these people as quickly as possible?
It's just scanning, basically just scanning the area, scan as many people as you can.
This simple technique works for Gary because he's a super recognizer. But at this range, I'm having trouble even seeing faces at all, let alone identifying them.
There's a chap at the bus stop up there. I think he was number 3, I think, in the photographs.
Shay, I think you've been busted. Could you give us a wave? Well done.
That's one.
Miles away.
It's actually thought that super recognizers might have something interesting going on in the very same brain areas as those with face blindness. They just occupy the opposite end of the spectrum. Instead of struggling to identify anyone, they actually recognize everyone.
Lady by the scarves down there with the grey rucksack.
Alison, you're nicked.
Only one more suspect on the run.
The chap there with the blue bobble hat.
Oh,
I think
very
he was
good.
number 2
Mike,
or
could
3,
you turn around and give us a wave? Well done. I mean, we even stuck him in a bobble hat to make it harder for you. I think this proves why you're the best in the business.
No, it's brilliant. No,
Good
thanks
job.
very much, Yep.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
Gary.
Thank you.
Super recogniser. It's remarkable to think that in a world of over 7 billion people, no two faces are exactly alike. Every single face is individual. It's thought that we evolved to have such distinctive and unique faces to help us recognize each other by sight, as opposed to scent, like most other animals.
And not only have our faces evolved to become more recognizable, our brains have developed to perceive faces faster. And super recognizer Gary could be on the front line of this evolutionary progress. His ultra-advanced facial perception could boil down to an overactive or perhaps hyper-connected fusiform face area.
When we're recognizing objects in the outside world, what we're effectively doing is putting together a visual jigsaw. So for example, when we're looking at a chair, what we see is a flat surface, some things sticking out, and we see a back area. And we add those bits up to work out that this is a chair. However, for human faces, what happens is that we see the whole, and we think that that happened within the right hemisphere.
And in Gary's case, this part of the brain is far more developed than the rest of us. David, on the other hand, has discovered that his fusiform face area is damaged, and this could be the reason why he's had to resort to alternative methods in order to spot a face.
In cases of prosopagnosia, what we believe is that that system that sees the whole is damaged. And as a result, what happens is that the brain has to revert to that other system that sees the parts, and it tries to work out what that is.
So David has had to learn how to recognize people using a completely different set of tools.
I'll avoid going into a room, being the first person going in. I'll go in behind people, or I'll wait until to hear people talking. Then I can place people within the room. I look for out of a whole range of stuff. I'll pull in 2 or 3 that I think are going to be useful.
And then triangulate the identity on the basis of...
But that can change every time I meet them. I can't control the things that I recognise people with, and that sometimes is a little bit tough and or embarrassing, because when people find out or hear that's what I'm doing, they immediately want to know, so what do you recognise about me? And sometimes I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to, you know, the classic one is the lady with the large bust and the rather low-cut top when we were out one evening. That was the way that I could tell her. It's such a simple thing, but such a difficult thing for someone to understand.
It is hard to wrap your head around until you realise that the brain's divided up into different functional compartments. Each of them do a different job. And if you've just had damage to the part of the brain that processes specific visual information, everything else about you is the same. It's just your access to that facial information has been damaged.
I'm no dafter, no cleverer than I was before. It's just this very narrow band, but it penetrates a lot of your life without realising.
But of course, it must be hard work.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, and it is tough. And that's the thing, it's very difficult to explain to people how tough it is. Really tough.
Clearly, David is struggling to come to terms with his new way of life. As a result, he signed up to trial a brand new approach to treating face blindness. David is hoping that an experimental drug therapy might be the answer to his problem. Dr. Sarah Bates specialises in neurodisorders, characterised by face processing impairments.
The technique that we're looking at today is using intranasal inhalation of the hormone oxytocin.
When oxytocin is given as a drug, it's usually to induce labour or to encourage bonding between mother and infant. This has led specialists to suspect that it could be useful for promoting recognition. It's already proved to be successful in patients born with face blindness, but Dr. Bates and her team have little experience of cases of acquired face blindness through brain trauma.
We've tested one person so far, and we also noted a significant improvement in that individual. So our hope is today that we will find a similar pattern with David. Come and take a seat, David, if you could sit for me just here in front of the laptop. I'm going to ask you to inhale 6 puffs of this spray. So if you tilt your head back slightly, cover the other side, and then 3 puffs up each side.
Once the hormone is absorbed into his system, David's facial recognition is put to the test.
On the left, I think.
And who do you think that might be?
I think it might be one of my daughters.
Test subjects can't know their scores until the end of the experiment.
No idea. Absolutely. One on the right.
This procedure is so experimental, the possibility of success is completely unknown.
I think that's Sharon on the left. I end up divorced at the end of this, couldn't I?
We'll find out soon if the therapy worked or if David will have to settle for a life without faces.
I'm worried that he will be disappointed because he hasn't resigned himself to living with prosopagnosia. He definitely wants help.
To recognise people, David has to rely on a completely different set of features to the rest of us. But thankfully, he has no problems recognising those all-important facial cues that are absolutely vital when we interact.
We're all highly attuned to what people's faces tell us. Take this simple trick. Pete is about to show you a simple disappearing ball trick. Now see if you can spot what's happening in slow motion. If you were tricked, then you were looking more at Pete's face and where he looked than at his hands. We have an instinctive tendency to look at human faces because they're packed with so much useful social information. For example, we have the urge to follow Pete's gaze because it provides potentially vital information about things we might have missed. Once Pete has our attention, he's got us fooled. Over the course of our journey, we've learned that facial recognition is profoundly important for our survival and success as a species. So much so that our brains have developed ways to fast-track the process of face perception itself. And when this system is disrupted, we have to resort to alternative methods to seek out those whom we know. But recognizing people by their clothes, hair color, or vital statistics is no match for our own inbuilt, hyper-quick, automated facial recognition system. Without which, architect David Scott is unable to even recognize his own wife. Today, he's taking part in an experiment which could potentially change his life forever.
That's got my frown, but it hasn't got my scar. But I'm going to go with it. It's me. The crushing thing is the confidence, isn't it?
In a bid to boost his facial recognition abilities, he's participating in a cutting-edge drug test. But with research this fresh, there's no guarantee of success.
So, before you had the oxytocin, you scored 7 out of 10 on that one, and then afterwards you scored 4 out of 10.
After oxytocin, so yeah.
Oxytocin, so it didn't actually benefit.
Yeah.
David's score was 40%, which is less than if he were to pick the faces at random. The oxytocin hasn't worked. He's the first patient ever to see no improvement from the treatment.
I was a little bit disappointed with the results from the test, but being realistic, I probably wasn't surprised. What can you say?
But all is not lost for David. The last experiment may have failed, but there are still plenty of potential fixes in the pipeline for sufferers of prosopagnosia.
The more we study the condition, the better we're going to be able to create new strategies and rehabilitation techniques, we're also hoping that we'll be able to develop technologies that can help people with prosopagnosia.
Since the oxytocin tests, David has been working with a software company to develop new strategies for facial recognition using smart glasses. And he's visiting today with his daughter.
There seems to be a fantastic use, a positive use of technology.
Whether or not this particular strategy is successful, David recognises that the future is getting brighter for those with face blindness.
Just, you know, that little bit of assistance can help so much with like self-confidence and just your place in the world.
David's story speaks volumes for just how much we should value our brain's unique relationship with faces. From knowing which faces are worth remembering, and the features we automatically hone in on to do this effortlessly, to our extraordinary ability to spot them everywhere. We are all constantly bombarded by new faces, and our ability to remember them is quite remarkable. In the average lifetime, we'll recall over 10,000 different faces. Face perception has always played a central role in social interaction, informing us about the identity, age, gender, race, mood, attractiveness and friendliness of a person, all at a glance. But what David and Super Recognisers tell us about facial recognition is that it's a remarkable and complex process that gives us a unique insight into how our brains work. My name is Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm on a journey to understand everything there is to know about the human brain. The human brain is the most complex part of our body. Many mysteries remain about how this most vital of vital organs controls every aspect of our lives. But over the last few decades, our knowledge has expanded in leaps and bounds.
That was a shock to the system.
Now we're getting ready to push it to the limits, finding out how our brains react to unusual conditions and surprising challenges.
This is the strangest experience of my life.
Let's do it. I'm setting out on a journey. A journey to meet some people with remarkable neurological conditions.
One of the most common questions is, how is it wired to your brain?
That give us a unique insight into the inner workings of the brain.
I discovered people who are able to remember almost every day of their life.
In this episode, we'll mess with your mind and explore the mysterious relationship between our bodies and brain. I'll meet two people who can feel parts of their body that no longer exist.
I feel it all the time.
People simply don't understand invisible conditions.
We'll find out about the bizarre syndrome called phantom limb.
The challenge is, how do you treat a body part that is no longer there?
I'll discover how we can all experience the sensation of a disembodied hand.
It doesn't feel like it's part of my body.
And see what it takes to control a bionic arm. Plus, with the help of magician Pete Heat, we'll see just how easily our sense of touch can be fooled.
Oh my God! He didn't touch you, he didn't touch you.
What's going on deep inside your head? Join me to uncover the secrets of the brain. Chin chin.
As humans, our perception and understanding of the world and what we do in it is generated entirely in our brains. But the way we sense and interact with the world also depends on our bodies. There's an inseparable partnership between the brain and body. And when that gets disrupted, strange things can happen. To start investigating these effects, magician Pete Heat has been up to his usual tricks.
How well would you two know each other? Are you close friends? Yeah?
We are.
Okay, I'm going to try something, kind of a magic trick, kind of It's a bit weirder than that, though. It's basically going to test how well connected you are, like how close you are. I'm going to ask you in a second to close your eyes. OK, don't do it yet, but in a second you're going to close your eyes. And I want you, when you have your eyes closed, I want you to be really aware of anything you can feel. To start with, can you close your eyes for me? OK. Can you see anything at all? No? OK. All right, and open your eyes for me, if you would. Thanks. To start with, did you feel anything at all?
Just double tap on the back of my arm.
Oh, OK. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you felt a tap on your arm?
Yeah.
OK. I didn't touch your arm. I touched your arm. No, I didn't touch you.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit scary. So who did?
I touched her on her left shoulder. Yeah, check. There's no one anywhere near you, right? Yeah, and but you can verify there was no one anywhere near.
Nobody touched me.
So, and where did I touch you? It was about there. Is that about where you felt? Yeah. Good. Well, that's a good start. Right. We'll try and take that a step further. Okay. In a second, I'm going to get you to close your eyes again. And this time, when you do that, I want you to concentrate on what you can feel more around your sort of head, face, that kind of area. Okay. Close your eyes for me. Brilliant. Thank you. All good. All right. Open your eyes for me. Thanks. Did you feel anything at all then?
Yeah, someone touched my nose.
God. Someone touched your nose?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell her what happened?
No one touched your nose, he touched my nose.
Like this.
No, that's what you to me.
What?
No. He didn't touch you, he didn't touch you.
God, he touched my nose.
He touched my nose, he didn't touch you.
And then he came behind me and he did this.
That's what he did to me. He didn't touch you once.
Did he actually not touch me? No, he didn't.
That was very weird because I could feel like quite strong taps on my shoulder and on my nose, so it was quite weird.
She saw it all, but I felt like I was touched personally, but she said that I wasn't, but it was her, so I don't understand. Like, I
don't understand how you can feel what I can feel. You think when you get touched, obviously your nerves can feel it and it sends a message to your brain and tells you, you've been touched. But if that physically didn't happen, either my brain is just making it up or Sonia weirdly, I don't know, sent me a connection or something.
It's a great magic trick, and it beautifully illustrates that what our senses tell us about what's going on in the world around us isn't always completely accurate. We trust what we feel touching us, but when these sensations let us down, it leaves us baffled. Now, I want to look closer at the mixed up sensations that can occur if the link between our body and brain gets disrupted. This is Nigel Ackland, who has one of the world's most advanced bionic hands.
I have to admit, I was slightly concerned you might crush me with that grip.
I think it's a concern that most people have initially, but it makes the handshake more special.
Nigel used to work as a metal smelter until about 8 years ago when he had a horrific accident involving an industrial blender.
I was cleaning a large blender, like a big cement mixer type thing. And it started to spin. I fell inside and my arm got stuck. It got trapped here, and then the drum changed direction and started crushing, and it lasted a few seconds, not long. But when it finished, I mean, I was hanging sort of up here.
After 6 months of unsuccessful surgery, Nigel realised his hand would have to be amputated. His new limb is purely mechanical, but amazingly, he still has the vivid sense his real hand is still there.
In my hand, I feel it all the time, which is sensation.
Of
Yeah.
Your original hand and arm being there?
Yeah. Like it's in a glove wrapped with wire wool, so you've got the slightly pins and needles, anaesthetic wearing off type feel. That's what I get all the time.
Ah, so it's not a sensation of it there in its full normal form?
No.
But a numb version of its presence?
My hand is actually, if I put my thumb right, my hand is... That's how my hand is in my brain.
Oh, really?
Like this. Which is weird.
Nigel's describing phantom limb sensations, something nearly all amputees experience. For most, it manifests itself as a constant itch, but it can often be incredibly painful too.
Imagine someone's got a long spike. They tell you, look, I'm going to push this spike right down the heel of your hand. It's really going to hurt. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it now.
Right.
So you know it's happening, you know it's going to be horrible, but you can't do anything. That was one of my phantoms.
So these are sensations of pain in your limb that had gone months, if not years before?
Yeah, I still get it now. I mean, my arm was amputated in 2007, Easter 2007. We're now at the end of 2015, so 8 years.
It's not just phantom limbs that cause people trouble. There have been reports of phantom nipples, phantom appendix pains, even phantom eyes and teeth. Phantom sensations are a curious glimpse of a remarkable link between the human body and the brain that truly fascinates us neuroscientists.
4 out of 5 people who has lost their arm will experience phantom pain. For some people, it manifests as shooting pain or electrical currents. Other people feel like the hand is burning. Another person would say that it feels like the hand is completely frozen. People often describe they feel the hand is clenched and the muscles of the hand are in pain. They can feel the nails digging into the skin. So it manifests differently for different people.
Amputee Nigel Ackland has found a surprisingly simple way of easing his pain.
If you have pins and needles in your hand, what do you do?
You sort of flex it and move it to try and get the blood flowing.
When I'm doing it, my brain is looking at my fingers, flexing, which is what you would do and what I would do.
Yeah.
And it seems to be making the pain more controllable. Maybe that for me helps my brain to think that the blood flow's going back to the hand that's not there. And
so not only is it enabling you to get more control over your environment, but it's actually helping clear up some of that phantom pain.
This has actually helped a lot, this prosthetic, in a strange way.
Although the bionic hand is purely mechanical and isn't surgically attached to Nigel's arm, just seeing it in the right place and exerting some voluntary control over its movements somehow miraculously seems to help ease the pain. Nigel's experience highlights the complexity involved in the link between our bodies and our brains. I'll be back with him later to see how effectively his brain has taken to the bionic hand and how precisely he controls it.
It is amazing the degree of precision that bionic arm has got under your control.
And I'll get a rare chance to operate one of them myself.
We've all got a lifetime's experience of being inside our skin. And this can create the distinct impression that our sense of where our body starts and ends is always accurate and up to date. But in actual fact, you can trick someone's mind into thinking that an inanimate object is actually a part of their body.
I'm going to run a test on some of these market shoppers to illustrate roughly what having a phantom limb must be like. And I'll be needing this mirror.
What we're going to do here is create a little bit of a sensory illusion that confuses your brain a little bit with regard to which hand is which.
The volunteers sit so that they can see only their left hand and its reflection, which of course looks like their right hand, in the mirror.
We're going to get you to move both your left and right hand simultaneously, up and then down, up and then down.
After a while, they should start to forget about the hand that they can of course feel, they can't actually see.
Tap the thumb a couple of times, both sides simultaneously. Very good.
And adopt the reflection as if it's their other hand. So far, all the moves they've been doing are symmetrical, but let's see what happens when they move their arms asymmetrically.
And now I'm going to get you to alternate. So when one hand goes up, the other hand goes down. Switch, switch.
That's a bit weird. Yeah, it's a bit freaky. It feels like a puppet. I don't like it.
It feels like my hand's broken.
You have to say your hand's broken?
Like, it feels like that my hand is numb.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's part of my body.
I don't even know if I'm alternating or not. It's just, yeah, just strange.
I just feels like it's not real.
Very good. So your body isn't a part of you anymore?
Yeah, it's lying to me, basically.
Our volunteers have the disturbing sensation of seeing what looks like their arm doing something it's simply not. The conflict between what they can see and feel creates a distinctly unsettling experience. So I've completely derailed their brain's ability to keep track of where their body parts are in space. Yes!
So now we're going to go on to stage 2 of the experiment. Are you ready for that?
Yep.
This illusion is going to make this very artificial looking rubber hand feel like it's your real left hand.
This is called the rubber hand illusion. Simply by watching the rubber hand being stroked at the same time that the real hand is actually being stroked is quite enough to trick the brain into accepting it as its own.
Each time I touch your hand, your fake hand on this side with the paintbrush, I'll simultaneously be touching your real left hand in exactly the same place with this paintbrush, with the same rhythm and tempo. Just keep concentrating on what you're seeing and what you're feeling.
Very convincing, that instantly.
Basically, I feel like this is my hand now. The rubber hand feels very real.
You mean it feels like it's your hand?
Yeah, it's my hand.
I mean, I can see that this isn't my hand, but actually when you're stroking it with the brushing it actually feels like it is my hand.
Because the sight of the brush stroking the rubber hand coincides precisely with the touch sensations on their real hand, the brain ties the two things together and perceives them as one and the same. In fact, the more irregular the touch, the more convincingly it feels that the rubber hand is actually a part of their own body.
Once you've got this illusion going, 2 or 3 minutes of stimulation, sometimes even less, you take so much ownership over this hand that...
Ooh. Bloody hell, that's not nice.
It felt like a shock, and like I think I was in such shock I didn't actually feel anything because I was actually just kind of, just...
What, you felt like how dare you hit me? You wanted to get revenge.
Yeah,
thanks.
I wouldn't have thought how my sense of feeling and my vision would have been tricked so easily.
This illusion is a brilliant way of showing how combinations of touch and vision can trick our brain into adopting a completely inanimate object as a part of our very own body in seconds. Here's a way to experience for yourself a mixed up sensation induced by what your eyes are telling you about your limbs. Twist your hands like this. Now try and lift this finger. How about this one? Struggling? Not moving the finger you thought you would? Like this, your hands look and feel a lot like they're clasped normally. But the unusual position means your eyes are sending signals to your brain that aren't backed up by what you can feel, leaving you with a confused picture of your own body. This test and the rubber hand illusion both show how important our sense of vision can be in knowing our own bodies. It also offers clues about why amputee Nigel might get relief from having a bionic hand that looks and moves in a lifelike way.
I'll be joining Nigel again later for a bionic masterclass. Whilst he's found a way to control his phantom pain, for other people who have these strange sensations, the solution is not always so straightforward. Meet Lynn Ledger. She lost her arm to a rare form of cancer about 7 years ago and still has incredibly vivid phantom sensation. She's on a quest to find out why.
When I woke up from my surgery, I had this really peculiar sensation of a phantom limb, and at that point it was, to say it was mobile was an understatement. It was moving like this, but it was moving in ways that an embodied limb couldn't. You know, the fingers would move through the hand and come out the other side, and I was just completely fascinated by this new set of sensations.
But Lynn was about to discover the pain that can come with having a phantom limb.
I had no inkling of what was to come when the anaesthetics finally wore off. And when they did, it just hit me like a wall. It was excruciatingly painful.
To try and discover what causes her pain, Lynn has come to Oxford University Department of Neurology to meet neurologist Dr. Tamar Makin.
The challenge that the medical doctors are facing is the same challenge that we have here in the lab. How do you treat a body part that is no longer there? It is notorious for being one of the most difficult pain conditions to treat.
Tamar uses a brain scanner to look deep into the brains of amputees for signs of what might be causing the pain.
What we've done is probably one of the simplest experiments ever to be performed in an MRI machine. We put people in the scanner and we asked them to move different body parts. But one of the body parts that we asked people to move was the phantom hand.
When Lynn flexes her phantom hand, what happens inside her brain? How does it compare to flexing her real hand? We'll be back later as she finds out for the first time.
It's very clear that your brain thinks the hand is still there.
It explains why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Nigel and Lynn give us a fascinating glimpse into the relationship between the human body and brain. So how do our bodies and brains talk to one another? And why do Nigel and Lynn experience pain in a limb that no longer exists?
The sensations of a phantom limb don't come from the stump itself, and obviously they can't come from the limb because in most cases the limb's been amputated. So we know that they're coming from the brain, and they're coming from the part of the brain that used to respond to the limb. So that part of the brain isn't silent.
So why is that part of the brain still active?
Let's start right at the beginning. What's the relationship between our brain and body? How does each of them know what the other one's up to at any given moment? It's actually a remarkable process.
Whatever we do, however we move, our brain is processing inputs, sending out trillions of intricately timed and coordinated electrical messages to muscles throughout our body.
Even the simplest of movements, like picking up a glass of water, is actually an extremely complex motor task. Not only does your brain have to figure out which muscles to contract and in what order to steer your hand towards the glass, it also has to estimate the correct force so that you pick it up without dropping it or smashing the glass to smithereens. The way our brains control our movements is incredibly finely tuned.
The brain also gets constant feedback from our muscles, tendons and sense of touch, updating it about the progress of our actions.
The body and the brain talk to each other by sending signals from the body into the brain and descending signals from the brain into the body. So you've got this constant kind of loop between them.
It's thought that phantom limb sensations may arise because the brain has stopped receiving feedback from the lost body part, yet still expects it, thus causing the confusion. Here's a demo of how easily your brain can create the distinct perception of something that isn't really there. Have a look at these fruit slices. Can you see a large square What about now? Most people have a strong awareness of a square formed between the segments, yet there's no actual square there at all. This demonstrates how our brain makes assumptions about what our senses tell it, and maps out what it thinks should be there. Every second of the day, our brain receives trillions of signals coming in from our senses and different body parts, telling us what's going on in and around us.
We keep tabs on what's going on in our immediate environment using our 5 senses: vision, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. But there's another sense, a 6th sense if you like, and that helps us keep track of how we move through and interact with the world around us. It's that uncanny sense of knowing where your limbs are, how exactly they're positioned in space at any given moment without even looking at them. It's called proprioception.
Proprioception refers to our uncanny ability to know almost exactly where our arms, legs, or fingers are without having to look. It works thanks to position sensors in our skin, but more importantly, muscles, joints, and ligaments. And combined with our 5 main senses, it helps us build an incredibly precise mental map of where our body parts are in space.
Our sense of proprioception is often described as a 6th sense. And basically what this is a set of receptors in our muscles and ligaments that tell us what the angles and the positions of our joints are in our body. So for instance, our sense of touch doesn't tell me whether my arm is bent like this or not. It's actually the stretch in the receptors in my arm here that does that, and that is my sense of proprioception.
Here's how you can test your brain's sense of proprioception yourself. Find your fingertips. Raise both hands above your head and close your eyes. Using your right index finger, touch your nose, followed by each fingertip of the other hand, coming back to your nose each time. It's surprisingly difficult to successfully locate each fingertip with any precision. Okay, we're going to try again, but this time you're going to wiggle your fingers. It should be much easier. So what's going on? When you move your fingers, proprioception sensors in your muscles, tendons, and joints send more information to the brain than when they're still, so you can better judge their position. Most of us are highly dependent on visual cues for judging distance and position, but wiggling your fingers provides just enough extra information to correctly locate your fingers in space.
So we all have this sense of proprioception, which gives us a very precise awareness of the location of our various body parts. But when this sense goes wrong, the results can be devastating.
Nigel, who I met earlier, suffers from phantom limb pain, but finds it's eased by flexing his bionic hand. The natural relationship between the senses of proprioception and vision could be a clue as to why.
If you have pins and needles in your hand, what do you do?
You sort of flex it and move it to try and get the blood flowing.
When I'm doing it, my brain is looking at my fingers, flexing. It seems to be making the pain more controllable. Maybe that for me helps my brain to think that the blood flow's going back to the hand that's not there. And
perhaps for Nigel, seeing a realistic looking hand and making it move at will makes up for a lack of proprioception, substituting in a relevant visual input to help his brain make sense out of the confusion. But how else has the bionic hand helped Nigel? I now want to see it in action, close up.
Right, Nigel, it looks like we've got a battle on our hands. May the best man win.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Nigel operates the hand by twitching the muscles at the end of his stump. After months of practice, he can activate the hand's different gestures effortlessly.
Okay, so now for the magic.
Hang on, that's cheating. No, it's not cheating. I take it back.
I've only got one hand.
It is amazing the degree of precision that that bionic arm has got under your control.
This phantom sensation is what I believe allows me to control this in the sort of natural way that it's controlled.
And it seems like it's fundamentally changed your life.
And yeah, and it's not invasive either.
The hand has dramatically improved Nigel's ability to do things in his everyday life, but more than that, its appearance has transformed how he interacts with other people.
I do have a prosthetic that's really, I mean, it's old, and it's not the sort of thing you'd wear. I don't like wearing it in the street.
Have you got it here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is my NHS prosthetic.
Oh, right, that's
yeah.
That's a very different beast.
Would you shake that?
I would be reluctant to shake it. Can you put it on? Is it possible to?
And you know, I say, can you shake it? That's a kind of a flippant thing, but.
But would I want to? Yeah, I mean, it's a different proposition. That looks very inhuman, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, I call it lobster claw.
Lobster claw.
It's always been function over form. And the way, you know, the reaction that I'm getting from you now, that is the reaction that I faced every day. I used to lock myself out of my garage. I used to lock myself away from my wife, my son, everyone, for days.
But with this, you are out of the garage.
Oh, big time.
I love how quickly you can do that. That's amazing.
It's brilliant. There are now perhaps 300 of these in the world.
Nigel is one of only a few patients testing out the bionic limb, which is still a prototype. But it's transformed his life, and he can't wait for more people to benefit from it.
With this, people accept you. They can see at a glance that it's not a weird hook. It's a very cool bionic arm.
Yeah.
And it changes the way they interact with you socially. So rather than treating you like some kind of freak, they actually come over, show interest.
We should open our eyes to the fact that, you know, the people in today's world that we do label as disabled are actually the pioneers of tomorrow's world.
Later, I'll be meeting the creator of Nigel's high-tech bionic hand and trying it out to discover just how versatile it is.
Very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Not all amputees can afford or access high-tech bionic limbs. They don't always have a therapeutic effect on phantom pain. Lynn Ledger has tried prosthetics without success in the past and still struggles to find anything that helps.
This is an incredibly difficult condition to understand. It's a difficult one to live with. I've tried all kinds of things. I've used breathing techniques which help me manage the pain, but they're not really a treatment. I've been offered everything under the sun. I try and manage this pain, which is constant, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without much by way of drugs, because there's nothing that works.
Lynn's having a brain scan to try and understand her condition and find a treatment that works. As the mystery of this remarkable brain condition gets unpicked by science, Lynn hopes we'll all be more sympathetic to the remarkable sensations amputees can perceive.
People simply don't understand invisible conditions. And it's hard work explaining to somebody that you're being haunted by excruciating pain from what essentially to them is a ghost arm.
Because you can't see the hand, because it's not there, because it doesn't look swollen, or you can't see someone wearing a cast, you're not really aware that they are currently experiencing intense pain. They've gone through this horrible trauma. They are coping with this serious disability. If there was just more support and understanding in the community, that could go a long way.
We'll be back with Lynn later to see if scanning her brain will uncover clues about her pain and if it might even lead to an effective treatment. Inside all our brains is a mental map of our body, telling us how our arms, legs, hands, fingers and head are positioned. We've seen that our sense of vision and our sixth sense of proprioception help to maintain this map, but it's also influenced by our sense of touch. Here's a test that demonstrates the power of touch. First, find a willing friend. Sit on a chair and ask your friend to sit in front of you with their back to you. Now, with your eyes closed, put your right hand on their nose. Tap it and stroke it, making identical movements with your other hand on your own nose, and continue for 60 seconds. Yes, it's a bit odd, but bear with me. About 50% of people will have the extremely odd sensation that their nose is a metre long. You've used your sense of touch to incorporate your friend's nose into your own mental body map. How awesome is that? Disrupting people's sense of touch is perfect territory for magician Pete, who's headed to the seaside to experiment on some members of the public.
As a magician, my hands are really important to what I do. A little statistic that I've found out while making this programme is that apparently a quarter of the part of your brain that deals with motion is actually devoted to your hands. So even though your hands are such a small part of your body relatively, actually 25% of the motor cortex is involved in moving your hands. So it's quite interesting, I thought. With that in mind, can I try something with you? Can I ask you to put your hands out for me like that? Perfect. And just with one of your hands, just sort of jiggle one of your hands up and down for a second. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, but that one? Okay, that's the one we're going to use then. We'll get rid of the other one for a second. I'm just going to take a pen. Okay. I want you to imagine that I'm drawing on my hand. Okay, I'm not actually going to do it, but I want you to imagine that I am. Okay, so when I bring the pen down here, I want you to just imagine that you can feel it on the palm of your hand. Now you might actually feel something. It might be a bit weird. Nothing painful. Just imagine that you can feel just something like an interesting sensation on the palm of your hand. Imagine that as I do that, I'm actually drawing a little cross. Could you imagine that was your hand? Could you sort of feel it in your head almost, yeah? Turn your hand over.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Can I get you to turn your hand from... That's awesome! What? Oh, he didn't touch me. Oh, that's weird.
I don't know how, but he'd actually got a cross on my hand, which was kind of unsettling because he didn't actually touch me or come anywhere near me or anything. So I don't really know what to think. It's crazy.
I can't believe that my hand's been drawn on, but no one's actually drawn on my hand physically. It's weird.
Because he didn't physically touch my hands, and then when I turned my hand over and it was just there, I mean, in my head I could picture it, but I didn't think it would actually be there.
Yeah, I think
it's definitely there, right?
Yeah, it's there.
Still, I don't understand it still, I just don't get it.
These people have been fooled by a magic trick, but it illustrates that our sense of touch isn't always as reliable as we think. For people who've had an amputation, the touch receptors in their missing limb no longer exist. Yet they continue to experience sensations as if they do. Earlier we met Lynn, who continues to suffer severe pain from her phantom left arm after an amputation 8 years ago, and she's determined to find out why.
I try and manage this pain, which is constant 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without much by way of drugs, because there's nothing that works.
Lynn's had her brain scanned by Dr. Tamar Makin, who's looking for clues about the source of her pain. Inside the scanner, Lynn first flexed her real hand, then her phantom hand, so that we could see the difference in brain activity. Tamar is focused on a strip of the brain that receives touch and movement signals from the entire body. Each half of it is devoted to one side of the body. Lynn can now see for the first time what's going on in this area of her brain.
So this is your brain, and the activation that you see here is in response to your intact hand, your right hand, activating the left side of your brain. Now you're going to move your phantom hand, and as you can see in the opposite part of the brain, there's pretty much an identical pattern of activation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you move your phantom hand and when you move your intact hand, the same thing happens. The brain looks the same.
This is the brain activity when Lynn's real right hand is being flexed. This is the activity when she's flexing her phantom left hand. They're almost identical, 8 years after the left hand ceased to exist.
What we found was really striking. We found in every single participant we tested, there was maintained representation of the phantom hand. And to, any neuroscientist that I would show these pictures to, it would look like a regular representation of the hand. And if you would compare the representation of Lynn's brain when she moves her phantom hand and the representation of my brain when I move my own fingers, it would look very similar.
So, Lynn can not only feel her missing limb, but amazingly her brain activation is indistinguishable from that of her real hand.
It's very clear that your brain thinks the hand is still there.
Brain scientists are still puzzling over what activates this signal, but somehow the lasting representation of Lynn's arm in her brain is what's causing her pain.
It explains why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. Participating in Tamar's research has made a huge difference to my understanding of my own condition. So for me, it's helped me manage my condition better, just knowing the neurology of what's actually happened to me.
An effective treatment for phantom pain is still a way off. But Lynn's involvement in the research has opened up exciting new possibilities.
Tamar and colleagues have been working really hard trying to unravel the complexities of phantom limb. She's now working on a novel therapy for phantom pain, which involves using tiny electrical currents to stimulate the part of the brain responsible for producing sensations in the missing body area. So far, early results look promising, and in the meantime, there have been some huge breakthroughs in the world of artificial limbs that make the future look that little bit brighter for many amputees. So the relationship between your body, your limbs, and your brain is far from straightforward. But it's remarkable how much we can adapt. After my masterclass with Nigel, it's now time for me to see if I've got what it takes to control my very own bionic arm. I've come to meet Bruce Rattray from the team behind the world's most advanced prosthetic hand.
These are high-tech prosthetic hands designed for those who don't have a hand. This particular hand can unleash so many different types of grips, up to 11 different active movements at any one time. The tripod grip.
Tripod grip.
Or the pinch. We can change into the power grip.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we call active index. So you've got full control of the index finger now. So you can make a gesture.
You programmed in, come hither.
Or, yeah, you can use it as a gesture, or again, you can find a comfortable position for typing. And this particular grip here is called column. That's very good for pushing activities. Everything's locked down on the hand, and it really helps the user with dressing, pushing through coats, sleeves, shirts, so the fingers don't get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's 5 motors buried within the hand. 4 of them are situated in the palm, 1 for each finger, and the final motor's actually embedded inside the thumb. They're monitoring the position of one another all the time, so you get very accurate, repeatable grips. And they're just waiting for the signal to arrive from the wearer to do the particular motion that they require.
Maybe I watch too many sort of superhero sci-fi movies, but is it possible to get super strength out of one of these things?
We're limited to the motor strength at the moment, so whatever the motor can provide us with is our max at the moment.
In amputees, the hand is controlled by sensors that pick up muscle twitches in the stump. For my bionic experience, Bruce is attaching the sensor to the inside of my left arm to eavesdrop on the messages travelling down my nerves to the muscles.
This is tasks that would be undertaken in the clinic to get to used to using the prosthesis. So we've got these child's coloured blocks here. I want you to start picking up a couple of them and just stacking them on top of one another.
It takes a bit of practice, twitching my left arm to operate my right hand. But it doesn't take that long to get the hang of it. With time, amputees learn to activate the full range of different gestures, and using the hand can soon become second nature.
Well, it's amazing I can use my sound hand even though it's controlling. It's so clever. Okay, so can I pick up the glass without breaking that?
Yeah, you can try that as well. No. Now, water and electronics don't mix.
Okay, so I've got to be careful.
Take it nice and easy. Nice, strong close signal.
Strong close, so I don't have to worry about smashing the glass?
No, keep closing. Okay, you've got it.
How much did you say this thing costs?
Well, several thousand.
Okay, so that's why I'm going to drink it this way around, so I don't accidentally spill anything on it.
Very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really good. Woo-hoo. Well done.
It's an extraordinary sensation, and it's remarkable how quickly I rejigged my own body map to accommodate an artificial arm.
Well, again, just...
you have faith?
I have faith in you, yeah.
All right, let's see.
I have a better chance.
Oh, I've got it!
Yeah.
Hey! Yeah!
Oh.
Well, practice makes perfect.
Oh, no. Clearly, these things enable the patient to regain a lot of lost function.
Getting people back into their routine, yeah. Boosting their confidence, enabling functionality again. It lets you get on with your life as you did before.
Science is on the cusp of reinventing our bodies. By 2050, you can expect bionic exoskeletons, artificial blood cells, and lab-grown livers. So from eye limbs to artificial organs, advances in technology have led to an explosion of innovation in the increasingly sophisticated world of prosthetics. And the difference is making to the lives of those people who need them, if they can get hold of them, is really quite amazing.
One of the interesting things about artificial limbs is the brain can readily accept them as being part of their body. But this partly depends on whether the limbs can move and whether the limbs move as a result of your own thoughts. So one of the frontiers of science in this area is being able to take the pattern of neuron firings in somebody's brain in order to predict how they're trying to move their hands. So what you might have would be sensors on somebody's brain, or maybe within the skull themselves, actually on the cortex, that is kind of reading somebody's motor intentions and translating that into the movements of a robotic limb. So this enables the amputee not only to enact on the world, but actually to create a sense of ownership over the limb, that it feels like it is part of their body.
In this programme, we've seen how some people feel sensations and suffer awful pains in limbs that no longer even exist. We all have a mental map of our bodies, created by our sense of touch, influenced by vision and closely combined with our sixth sense of proprioception. For some amputees with phantom limb pain, seeing and moving a high-tech bionic hand can ease their suffering, perhaps by rewiring their body map. But other amputees don't have it that easy and are looking to science's cutting edge in the hope that understanding the mysterious workings of the brain will someday lead to a treatment. Let's hope so.
Phantom limb and conditions like it give us a fantastic way to understand how our brains construct our normal, everyday experience of bodily awareness and the self. The remarkable stories of Nigel and Lynn give us an extraordinary insight into the ever-evolving relationship between our bodies and our brain.